My dear students, good morning everybody. First of all, congratulations to all the 122 students who have successfully completed their second MBBS and entered into the final MBBS. Congratulations to all of you. In the previous class, we have discussed about measles. Now, there are two more diseases that is related to them, to the measles, that is mumps and rubella. Today we will discuss these two diseases. Mumps. First, we will discuss about the mumps. The word mumps has come from the British word. Mump means grimace or a grain. Grimace or a grain. This mumps is a viral infection of salivary glands. We are having three pairs of these salivary glands: parotid, submaxillary, and submandibular and sublingual. Parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. The viral infection for these salivary glands cause this disease mumps. If you see the magnitude of the problem, the disease, before 1960s, that is before the advent of these vaccines, it was an endemic all over the world. Almost all countries, the developing countries, underdeveloped countries, as well as the developed countries have witnessed this mumps. But later, with the advent of these vaccines, the magnitude has come down. It is 0.1 to 1%. 0.1 to 1%. In certain populations, it has crossed to 6% also. In certain populations, not in all. As we know, we are studying the epidemiology in terms of agent, host, and environment. First, the agent. What is the agent that is the causative for this mumps? This virus belongs to rubella virus, genus rubella virus, and the family Paramyxoviridae. You are more experts in this because you have passed just now the microbiology and you are well versed with these microbiological events. This virus is an enveloped one. It is enveloped, non-segmented, enveloped, non-segmented, negative sense RNA. Negative sense RNA with helical symmetry. It is having helical symmetry. The characteristic of this virus is helical symmetry. It is an enveloped, non-segmented, negative sense RNA with helical symmetry. If you see under the microscope, this will be actually this picture is first they have taken from TMC, I think, microscope, that is a special microscope. This virus was taken, this picture was taken at that time. This virus, mumps virus, has two major surface glycoproteins. Two major surface glycoproteins. Number one being hemagglutinin neuraminidase, hemagglutinin neuraminidase, and the second being fusion protein. Fusion protein. Mumps virus is sensitive to heat and ultraviolet light. So it can be easily killed. It is sensitive to heat and ultraviolet light. Fortunately, this has got only one serotype. There are no multiple serotypes of this mumps virus. This has got only one serotype. Coming to the host factor, humans are the only natural host. There is no other animal host for this mumps. Only humans. The reservoir is also naturally the human being only, not the other animals or anything. It is rare in infants. The children less than 1 year they have rarely experienced these mumps because of the antibodies that are circulating in the maternal blood. Due to the circulating antibodies in the maternal blood, this disease is very, very, very rare in infants. The peak incidence of the disease occurs at the age of 5 to 9 years. 5 to 9 years, between 5 years and 9 years. This is the peak incidence we have seen. The natural infection gives lifelong immunity. Once the child is infected with mumps in the early childhood, it gives him lifelong immunity. He will never get the mumps again. It is only one-time infection. If anybody has not got infection in the early childhood or not vaccinated, then that may occur at the elderly age, that is adult age. That will be severe. So, better to have vaccinated, or if not possible, better to have infection. Because one natural infection gives lifelong immunity. Environment. It is endemic. Endemic means throughout the year. Throughout the year, we can see the disease in the world. But the peak incidence of mumps will be during winter and spring seasons. Winter and spring seasons, they are having high incidence. Transmission. Transmission is by direct contact. Direct contact or airborne droplets from upper respiratory tract. Airborne droplets from upper respiratory tracts. It requires more intimate contact than chickenpox and measles. Chickenpox and measles, even a small contact, small duration of contact, the child may get the disease. But here, this mumps requires more period of intimate contact. The long period intimate contact causes this disease. Transmission through fomites is rare. Transmission through fomites is rare. But overcrowding just in classrooms in villages are like that, or even in towns where the space is very less, and in cinema halls, here the transmission occurs very easily. It is the disease from a diseased person, this is child, to another healthy person when it occurs. This virus is infective from 2 days before the onset of swelling. Swelling means swelling in the parotid glands. Infection occurs 2 days prior to the swelling. He can transmit the disease. The child who is suffering with measles can transmit 2 days prior to the occurrence of the swelling in the parotid. That means the child is normal when we look, there is no swelling, but he can transmit those 2 days. 2 days prior to that onset and 9 days after the onset of the swelling. That is total 11 days. 2 days before and 9 days after the onset of swelling in the parotid glands. How will it look like? The puffy cheeks, they are puffy, tender, swollen jaw. The patient, when we press at the site of the parotid gland, he feels pain. It's tenderness. Tender, swollen jaw is swollen. Swollen salivary glands under the ears, under either one ear or both ears, under the ears on one or both sides, often referred to as parotitis, parotid gland, infection of the parotid gland, that is a salivary gland. The infection of those glands is called parotitis. Other symptoms that might begin a few days before the parotitis, there are some other symptoms which we can see before the onset of this parotitis. Those are fever, headache, muscle aches, tenderness, loss of appetite. The child loses appetite. The first sign, when the child is reluctant to take food, he says that he is not feeling hungry and he doesn't take food, then the mother should suspect, or even the teacher in the school, in the midday meal program also, if the child is reluctant to take, then the Anganwadi teacher or the school teacher, elementary school teacher, they must be able to identify these diseases as early as possible so that it cannot be spread to the others. And this child can be put in a separate room, not touching, not being in touch with the other students and spreading the disease to the other students. Here you see, this is the picture. Like this, the parotid gland, it crosses the ear, and behind the ear also the swelling will occur, under the jaw, swollen jaw, and like this. This is the picture of a mumps. Symptoms typically appear 16 to 18 days after infection. It takes 16 to 18 days for the infection to show the symptoms, but this period can range from 12 to 25 days after infection. Some people who get mumps have very mild symptoms. It may be ignored also. It may not be noticed by the parents or the teachers also. Some people may be having very mild symptoms like cold or no symptoms at all and may not know they have the disease. Some children, in some children, this may go unnoticed. In rare cases, the mumps can cause more severe complications. This is the importance. We are bothered about these complications and we must be careful about this and we have to treat it properly. Otherwise, the child may land in complications. Most people with mumps recover completely within 2 weeks. Most of these children, they recover completely within 2 weeks. We need not worry. But in the children where the complications arises, that is the problem. As it is not a public health importance, as it has no public health importance, but that means the transmissibility is very low and this morbidity and mortality is also low and it doesn't cause much harm to the other children. It is not kept under UIP, Universal Immunization Program, or National Health Program, now we will go to that measles and rubella MR vaccine later in the National Health Programs we can discuss. That's why this in MMR, this mumps has been deleted and measles and rubella is taken care of by the World Health Organization and UNICEF. So we want to eliminate measles and control rubella, that is congenital rubella syndrome. This mumps is of less public health importance. It is not given due importance. You see, the parotid glands, sublingual glands, submandibular gland. You can see these things. Here, this is the parotid gland, sublingual and submandibular gland. These are infected and most commonly, usually the parotid gland is the one that is frequently infected. That's why it is called parotitis. Parotid gland is it takes its major share. Diagnosis. The diagnosis of mumps is very easy. It is by history. By history, we can diagnose. And the clinical findings, it is the swelling will be there. So by the clinical findings, we can diagnose. Lab tests are not necessary at all. No need of any lab investigations. But we can isolate the virus for our academic purpose. We can isolate the virus from throat swab, saliva, urine, and cerebrospinal fluid. We can isolate this virus from the throat swab, saliva, urine, and cerebrospinal fluid. Cell culture shows mumps virus in hemadsorption, heme adsorption inhibition test, heme adsorption inhibition test, HAI, heme adsorption inhibition test, heme adsorption inhibition test, HAI. We can see the mumps virus in the cell culture. Treatment. It is very mild disease. It is a self-limiting disease. There is no specific treatment. Even the treatment is also not necessary also. No specific antiviral treatment is needed. It is conservative treatment. For the pain, we can give analgesics. For hepatitis, we can give analgesics. For arthritis, severe more dose of analgesics may be necessary if the complication of arthritis has occurred. And then bed rest. Analgesics and bed rest can treat the mumps. Analgesics and bed rest. No need of any antiviral treatment. Prevention. Here we are having three types of vaccines: monovalent, bivalent, trivalent. In monovalent, only mumps vaccine will be there. In bivalent, mumps, measles and mumps. Measles and mumps. In trivalent, measles, mumps and rubella. Measles, mumps and rubella. Here what we use, the strain is L-Jogreb. L-Jogreb is the strain what is used for vaccine in this for the prevention of these mumps. If you see the complications that arise from the mumps in the children, this is most important. Complications of mumps. Arthritis in males, the infection of the testis, it will come to a lesser size, it shrinks and it goes to a smaller size. Males who have reached this puberty, this may lead to decrease in testicular size, testicular atrophy may occur. In females, oophorytis, infection of the ovaries. Oophorytis occurs, and even breast tissue, mastitis. In males, arthritis. In females, oophorytis. Oophorytis means infection of the ovaries, and even mastitis. And in both the sexes, pancreatitis. Though rare, the cases are there. Pancreatitis, infection of the pancreas. Encephalitis, the infection of the brain, and the meningitis, the inflammation of the tissue covering the brain and the spinal cord, meningitis. The meningitis is then these encephalitis and meningitis. These are very rare, though dangerous, but these are very rare. Deafness is another known complication. Deafness. Normally, people think that this mumps may cause infertility, but no infertility. Infertility is not the complication of mumps. Neither inflammation of the testis nor inflammation of the ovaries caused by mumps has been shown to lead to infertility. No. Usually they think as the ovaries are infected, as the testis is infected, the person may go for sterility. It's not the case. No infertility in mumps. Now, after mumps, we will go for rubella. Another sister of these diseases will go for rubella. Until this, mumps, is it clear to you? Mumps. At the end, we can have discussion. This mumps is a mild viral disease. This can be, this is not having much public health importance, and but the complications are there. The arthritis, oophorytis, pancreatitis, meningitis, encephalitis, all these things. So that's why just will be careful, but it is not of much importance. The treatment is also, there is no specific treatment, only conservative treatment, analgesics and bed rest will do the thing. Now, we'll go for rubella. It is a 3-day measles. It is also called as 3-day measles or 3rd-day measles. It is also called German measles. German measles. Rubella. You must know the difference between rubeola and rubella. Rubeola is measles. Rubella is another. Rubella and rubeola are different. These are not the same. The magnitude, if you see, it is 0.1 to 2 per 1,000 live births. Per 1,000 live births. Here, the parameter is live births. If 1,000 children are born, out of those 1,000 children, how many children got this congenital rubella syndrome? This is the parameter for rubella. 0.1 to 2 per 1,000 live births. That means 0.1 per 1,000 means it is 1 per 10,000 live births. 1 per 10,000 live births. Like that. German means agent. It is a toga virus, RNA virus. Rubella virus is toga virus. It is RNA. One antigenic type. It is also enveloped, single-stranded RNA. It belongs to genus Rubevirus, and family Togoviridae. It is spherical in shape. The diameter of this virus may be around 60 nanometers. 60 nanometers diameter of the virus. It is a delicate virus and easily destroyed. It can be easily destroyed or inactivated by lipid solvents, formalin, or even ultraviolet light or rays. It is very timid, inactive. It can be inactivated very easily. It is a delicate virus. Host. Human is the reservoir. Only human is the reservoir. In the pre-vaccine era, before the vaccine was invented, the peak level was between 5 to 9 years. But now, older age group people are getting this because after the vaccination, some people are left behind who have not taken the vaccine. Those people will get the disease at the later age. That's why we must be careful and we must give the vaccine in time to all the children born in the world to prevent this rubella. Transmission is through respiratory route. It is a respiratory disease. Transmission is through respiratory route. Communicability, the sick person can transmit the disease 7 days before and 7 days after the rash. 7 days before the appearance of the rash and 7 days after. Infants with congenital rubella syndrome may shed virus for more than 1 year. Infants with congenital rubella syndrome, they can shed the virus for more than a year. Incubation period, that is 14 days. Normally 14 days average. That may range from 12 days to 23 days. So this communicability is very important. 7 days before and 7 days after the rash. The rash appears on the 3rd day. Clinical features of rubella. Prodromal symptoms you can see in rubella, that is low-grade fever. The fever will be there, but it is of low grade. It is not hyperpyrexial. It is just raising the temperature, low-grade fever in the first week. In the second week, lymphadenopathy occurs. In the second week, the lymphadenopathy occurs. In the 3rd week, that is from 14th to 17th day, maculopapular rash appears on the skin of the diseased person. 14th to 17th day, maculopapular rash, we can see. Here, the congenital rubella syndrome is important. It is characterized by deafness, cataract, and heart defects. Deafness, cataract, and heart defects. Congenital rubella syndrome. Children, those will have deafness, cataract, and heart problems, heart defects. Rubella complications, if you see, arthralgia, arthritis in adult female, arthralgia or arthritis. Here, in adult females, it may be up to 70%. But in children, arthralgia and arthritis is rare. In adult females, we can see these arthralgia and arthritis up to 70% of the diseased persons. They may show this arthralgia and arthritis. The other important factor is thrombocytopenic purpura. Thrombocytopenic purpura, 1 in 3,000 cases, 1 in 3,000 diseased persons, we can see thrombocytopenic purpura. Encephalitis, 1 in 6,000 cases. Encephalitis can be seen in 1 in 6,000 cases. Encephalitis. Neuritis and orchitis are rare. Neuritis and orchitis, though it is reported very in some of the cases, but it is very rare. Neuritis and orchitis, we may not be seen. But this thrombocytopenic purpura is 1 in 3,000 cases, and half of that magnitude for encephalitis, that is 1 in 6,000 cases. But the most common is arthralgia or arthritis in adult females. What is congenital rubella syndrome? What it contains? Congenital rubella syndrome. Normally we'll call it a CRS. Congenital rubella syndrome. It is characterized by deafness. The person cannot hear properly. Cataracts, opacity in the lens, cataracts, and the heart defects. There may be heart defects. And then microcephaly, the size of the brain will be very, it is lesser proportion to the age and the child. Microcephaly. Even before delivery, we can diagnose this one, microcephaly. After delivery also, anencephaly, microcephaly. So we can see anencephaly means there is no brain at all. The bit put in the under. That is the anencephaly. Microcephaly means the size of the head itself is a very low, small one. And then mental retardation. If you see the IQ of that child born to the rubella infected mother, then that child will be having mental retardation, growth and development. They are not according to the milestones. And bone alterations, then liver and spleen damage. Frequently the child may be getting this jaundice also. Liver and spleen damage. Coming to the vaccine for rubella. It is a live vaccine, RA27/3 strain. It is particularly for rubella. But now the government and the World Health Organization, they are giving it in combination with measles, MR. But this rubella vaccine is also available. All adolescent girls, they must take this rubella vaccine compulsory. I know a case. One of my students, MBBS student, a brilliant student, she got seat in post-graduation in European country. She went there to join. But when they have taken that history and everything, they came to know that she was not vaccinated for rubella, and they have rejected the seat. They have rejected. She lost her PG seat. So all adolescent girls, they must take this rubella vaccine. It costs only 40 or 50 rupees. It is not much cost also. Rubella vaccine is a must for all adolescent girls. It is not during the pregnancy time. It must be before that only. Efficacy, it is 95% efficient, ranging from 90 to 97%. The efficacy of rubella vaccine is very high, that is 95%. It is acceptable. The duration of immunity is lifelong. One broke, lifelong immunity. One injection, one shot, lifelong immunity. And not only for her, it prevents congenital rubella syndrome in the future coming generation, future children of that girl. So that is most important. Schedule only one dose, but now in the MR we are giving 2 doses. Rubella vaccine, there are different trade names and all these things. RA27/3. That what we are using recently. This license was given for that during the year 1979. Only vaccine currently licensed in US. This is the only this RA27/3. This is the only vaccine that is currently licensed in US. These are the old vaccines. We are not using those ones. RA27/3. Rubella vaccine indications. When to give? What are the indications for administering this rubella vaccine? All infants 12 months of age and older. Now we are giving at the age of 9 months. 12 months of age and older. All infants, all the children from 9 months onwards, they must be given. Number 2, susceptible adolescents and adults. Susceptible adolescents and adults without documented evidence of rubella immunity. Without documented evidence of rubella immunity means if that child, that adolescent has already got vaccinated, that document may be there, or this documentation. And the third one is emphasis on non-pregnant women of childbearing age. Non-pregnant woman. It is not for the pregnant woman. It is for the pregnant woman of childbearing age. Particularly those born outside of US. Okay, this is of US one. This all the people outside US, they must get this rubella vaccine. Non-pregnant, during pregnancy we should not do it. MCV adverse day. MCV, that is measles containing vaccine. Measles containing vaccine. Measles, mumps, and rubella are measles containing vaccines. Here, after giving this vaccine, the child may get, or the adolescent may get, fever. If you give for 100 people, 5 to 10 people may get this disease, this fever. It is only adverse events followed by immunization, AEFI. Adverse events followed by immunization. After giving immunization, there are some adverse events. That is pain. Normally, some people may get pain. Some people may get swelling. Some people may get abscess. Some people may get fever. Like that. Adverse events followed by immunization. In this fever, it is for 5 to 15%. Rash in 5% of the vaccinated people. 5% rash. And then some of the people may show joint symptoms, joint pains like that, joint pains. Thrombocytopenia is very rare. 1 in 30,000 cases. 1 in 30,000 cases. Thrombocytopenia may occur. Parotitis is rare. Parotitis we cannot see. And then deafness, it is also rare. Encephalopathy, that is 1 in 1 million, 1 in 10 lakhs. 1 in 10 lakhs, it is very, very rare. We cannot witness this one. We cannot see this one also. And encephalopathy is also one of the adverse events followed by immunization. What we can do is we can assure and reassure that you may get the fever, and if she gets the fever, then they can have some paracetamol like that. So rash, it disappears by itself. Joint pains, they will disappear. Thrombocytopenia also, the platelets will come to the normal level within few days. Everything is, but in this, one thing what we have to remember is the reconstituted vaccine, that is diluted vaccine, should not be used 6 hours after the reconstitution. If we open the vial and this is ready for vaccination, it should be over by 6 hours. Even if 9 doses are remaining in that out of 10, we have given to only one person, you throw it off. Don't worry about the cost. But if you give it after 6 hours, the child may get severe reaction. Severe reaction. So, please be conscious while giving measles containing vaccines. These should be given within 6 hours after reconstitution of the vaccine. Please bear it in mind. We are dealing with the lives of the children, lives of the people. So, our negligence should not cause harm to that family. If we can do help, yes, we can help. Otherwise, we can't. But we have no right to harm the lives of the people. Contraindications and precautions. What are the contraindications for receiving vaccine? Severe allergic reactions to vaccine. Any severe allergic reaction. If the mother says or the adolescent says that I got allergy for that tablet, I got allergy for this injection like that, then don't give it. Severe allergic reactions. In that case, you have to take precautions. Pregnancy is contraindication. During pregnancy, we should not give. Before giving the injection, you ask the person, the adolescent girl or the adult female who came for rubella vaccine, you ask whether she is pregnant or not. If she says pregnant, don't give it. The second question what we have to ask is, in the next 4 months, 3 to 4 months, are you planning to have pregnancy? If she says yes, don't give. If she is not pregnant and if they are not planning for pregnancy within the next 3 to 4 months, then only you have to give this rubella vaccination. Please bear it in mind. She should not be pregnant. In the next 3 to 4 months also, she should not get pregnancy. Because this congenital rubella syndrome and this rubella effects, these are more when the woman or the girl is infected in the first trimester of pregnancy, early pregnancy period. It is important. Immunosuppression. The people who are under immunosuppression also don't give it. For HIV, if the person is not under severe immunosuppression, then you can give it. But under severe immunosuppression, don't give it. Moderate or severe acute illness, if the person is bedridden, don't give it. Recent blood products, if she has taken any recent blood products also, don't give it. Vaccination of women of childbearing age. Ask the pregnant, if she is pregnant or likely to become so in the next 4 weeks. 4 weeks, okay, not 4 months, I'm sorry, it is 4 weeks. Exclude those who say yes. For others, explain the theoretical risks and vaccinate. I think I am clear. This regarding the vaccination, MR vaccination, elimination of measles and control of rubella program. Elimination of measles and control of rubella. Please understand this. This is the program. We have to eliminate measles and control rubella. These national health programs, my colleague Dr. Mohan Rao Garu will tell, in that national health programs, how it's being implemented, he will tell about these things. Because I am assigned only up to this, not the national health programs. That's why I will leave it to my colleague, and that MR vaccination part he will take. I think you need some rest. Before taking rest, I think we can share our ideas. And once again, I congratulate all of you for being successfully promoted from second year to third year, that is final year. Now you are almost 75% doctors, and you are responsible people. You are having so much of responsibility towards your health, your family's health, and your community's health. So now we can have the sharing of the ideas. Charting better. Charting. More look at me. వీలైనంత పెద్దది చేసిన టైం సరిపోయింది 10:30. Now it is ready. We can share our ideas. Take care of your health. Don't go outside. Be safe. Be in your house, in your home. Enjoy with your family. Don't go out. Any questions? Please chat. Chat room is ready. For measles containing vaccines, these things must be given within 6 hours only. Not for the other, for DPT, BCG, it is not so. Only for measles. Yes, you are. It is a very good question. Good. Only measles. This you must take care. In the previous session, you have asked for to give some homework for the survey on COVID, but nobody has given any message for me. I don't know who has asked. And we can have studies. We can. If you are interested, you can WhatsApp to me. Then I will share the performance, and many people are doing, many colleges are doing. We can also do it. If MMR vaccine is taken at 15 months of age, then the vaccine needed to take again. Not needed. Not needed. Regarding MMR, it should not be given before 12 months. It must be given after 15 months, 10 to 15 months only. But measles and rubella can be given in less than 1 year. Mumps should not be given in less than 1 year child. As this rubella component is also there in MR now. MMR is not of government supply. It is not in the World Health Organization schedule in the universal immunization program. Mumps is not taken into consideration. This, if all the persons they have taken this MR, that is sufficient. Another time they need not take it. This is a lifelong immunity. Those who are interested to do some research, you please WhatsApp to me. We will do that one. Don't waste time. Better utilize this time with your parents. You see the newspapers, you see the current events, the TV also news, you see what is going on around us. You know in which zone you are living. There are 3 zones: red, orange, and green, and containment areas. Please continue questions. After passing second MBBS, your responsibility is doubled now. You have to study well. Nobody? Can I ask you a question and you can answer that in chatting? What is the difference between airborne infection and droplet infection? Number 100? 100? What is the difference between airborne infection and droplet infection? 100, please respond. Yeah. Good morning. What is the difference between airborne and droplet? Good. Yes, come. Airborne and droplet. the droplets fallen on the fomites that will cause this droplet infection. This airborne direct, when we sneeze or cough, the droplets, this will come, that is the droplet infection. This airborne means the organisms mix in the air, they may fall on any surface and that will get it. Okay. I think it is clear to you. Droplet infection is when the person, the diseased person coughs directly, the sneezes, the droplets will come like a sector like that photo you have seen. That directly causes infection to the other person. But airborne means that infection is mixed with the air and it may be on the fomites, on any object, and it will be captured by another healthy person. Okay. 122 people passed. Number 122. What is the route of transmission for mumps? 122. You are right, 100. 122. Good. Good morning. Your lucky number, 122 people have passed. What is the route of transmission for mumps? It is intimate contact for long period with the deceased person. For measles, for this chicken pox or measles, that much of time is not necessary, but intimate contact for longer period. Very good, very good. Thank you, 122. Good, you are genius. Number 61. 61. What is CRS? 61. 61. What is CRS? (61) means 122. I have made it as off. 61 is there? 61. Absent? Okay. 74. 74. 74, please respond. (74) absent. 74 is also absent. 33. 33. Yes, 30. Please tell. What I have asked? Congenital rubella syndrome. What are the effects of congenital rubella syndrome? Number 30. Congenital rubella syndrome. It is deafness, cataract, and deafness, cataract, and heart defects. This is the main thing. Okay, is it clear? Last 4 minutes, please ask any question. 4 minutes left to me. Take care of the elderly people in your house. Take care of them. Take care of the children. SPM can prevent COVID. SPM. S means social distancing. P means personal hygiene. M means mask. Social distancing, personal hygiene, and mask. If there are no questions, shall we close? CR, please respond. CR. CR, please respond. CR, please respond. Yeah, 129. One 129 or 037? Who is the CR? One 129. Good. How are all your classmates? I wish you all happy day. Next Tuesday, I will come to another class. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jefferson.